Imagine trying to solve a high-stakes mystery without any clues, or running a complex operation without knowing every single move your team makes. That's kind of what navigating the digital world feels like without robust audit and accountability.
Mhm.
Especially if you're a non-federal organization, handling controlled classified information, CUI, understanding who, what, when, and where actions happen on your systems, that isn't just good practice, it's absolutely critical for protecting data, for compliance, all of it.
Absolutely critical. And today, we're really going to dive deep into that audit and accountability family. It's Section 3.3 in NIST SP 800-171 Revision 3, which, as you know, gives those vital guidelines for non-federal orgs working with CUI. Our goal today, unpack 8 specific requirements. These help you keep a clear, verifiable record of system activities so you can detect things, analyze them, respond effectively if, a security incident happens.
Building that digital forensics toolkit.
Exactly. Making sure you're informed, ready for audits, and, maybe more importantly, ready for actual security challenges.
Okay, let's start uncovering those digital breadcrumbs then. We're kicking things off with 03.03.01 event logging. This feels like the absolute base layer, right? Deciding what things happening in your system are even worth writing down. Why is this step one?
Well, you nailed it. Event logging really is the bedrock. Its main job is to capture those observable things happening within a system, not just for the sake of it, but specifically to help spot unlawful or unauthorized activity,
Yeah.
and of course to meet your auditing needs. It's really about being specific. You need to decide exactly which types of events you're going to log.
Okay, so not just something happened. What kind of specifics are we talking about? What should an organization really focus on capturing?
Right. So you're specifying the event types. Think about logging every password change. That's important. Execution of privileged functions when admins do powerful things. Definitely failed login attempts.
Yeah.
Any access related to your critical systems. Administrative privilege usage, even when third-party credentials are used. That's key too. And here's something people miss. This isn't a set it and forget it deal. You absolutely have to periodically review and update that list of events. Make sure they're still relevant, still sufficient for your auditing, your security monitoring.
Things change.
Exactly. And there's a balance too, like logging every single file access. That could potentially crush your system's performance.
Yeah, the overhead.
Right. So maybe you only turn on that suture granular logging under specific high-risk conditions. The real skill is picking the critical events that give you the most bang for your buck investigatively, without just creating noise.
That makes total sense. So, picture a small engineering firm. They handle CUI for defense contracts. For them, event logging means setting up their systems to record, say, every login success or fail, anytime someone touches a CUI folder, all admin actions on servers. And they don't just set it once, they actively manage it. If a new threat pops up or they start handling maybe sensitive security information, a new CUI type, they tweak their logging.
Data.
Exactly. It's like a detailed logbook for sensitive stuff. You decide what's important to note down, and you keep that list current. It's your first line of digital evidence. Ever wonder who's trying to get into your digital space? So here's a question for you listening. What's one specific type of event you think is absolutely essential for any organization handling sensitive data, like CUI to log, and why? Let us know in the comments. We're always interested in different perspectives.
Okay, so once you've decided what events to log, the next logical piece is 03.03.02 audit record content. Because, just logging that an event happened, often not enough. The record itself needs enough detail to be actually useful later.
Yeah, for investigations, for analysis, this is about how rich those breadcrumbs are.
Exactly. Without the detail, a log entry can just be, noise.
Like finding a blurry footprint.
Yeah.
Tells you something was there, but not much else.
Right. What's critical here is that the audit records themselves must contain specific info to really support that auditing function. We're talking essentials like precise timestamps, source and destination addresses involved, user or process IDs, clear descriptions of the event, file names if they're relevant, even the specific access control rules that were triggered. And you also need the outcome. Did it succeed? Fail? What was the security state after the event?
Ah, the consequence.
Yes. And sometimes, for really sensitive actions, you might need even more, like a full text recording of privileged commands or figuring out which individual used a shared group account. The more context, the better the intelligence you can get from it.
That's the core of it, isn't it? Imagine a transportation company managing CUI, maybe railroad safety analysis records. When their sysadmin accesses a sensitive database, the audit log isn't just admin access database. No way. It's detailed. Which admin, the exact time, their IP address, what specific database, the type of access, read, write, modify, and crucially, did it succeed or fail?
All those pieces.
Yeah. That depth is absolutely vital for forensic analysis down the line. It tells the whole story, lets you do much better detective work. So what's in your digital diary? Another question for you. If you were designing an audit log for a super sensitive system, what's one piece of extra information you'd absolutely insist on capturing in each record to really boost its value? Drop your thoughts below what details matter most for investigations.
So we know what's a log and how much detail we need in those logs. That leads us straight into 03.03.03 audit record generation.
Yeah.
This one connects the dots. It's about the act of creating those detailed records and making sure they actually stick around.
Right, putting rubber to the road. You can define all the logging rules you want, but if the system doesn't actually create the records and then keep them,
Right.
it's all academic. This is about building that lasting digital archive.
Precisely. In this requirement, it has two main parts. First, you have to actually generate the audit records for the event types and with the content we just talked about. That often means configuring built-in system logging or maybe deploying special logging agents. Second, and just as important, you need to retain those audit records. For how long? Well, for a time period that lines up with your organization's official records retention policy. And it's not just about ticking a compliance box. It's about having that history when you really need it, maybe for an incident discovered weeks later, or for a long-term audit.
Makes sense.
What's also interesting here is that logs can be generated at different levels of detail. High-level summaries, sure, but sometimes you need packet-level detail to really find the root cause of something.
Think about a small research institution. Maybe they collaborate on projects with CUI. Their systems are set up to automatically generate audit records for every event they defined. Nothing gets missed. Then, those records, they're securely stored on dedicated servers. They have an automated retention policy, maybe archives them for 7 years, minimum.
Way beyond immediate needs.
Right. But it's crucial for meeting those long-term accountability requirements, especially if they handle sensitive security info. Generating logs is step one. Making sure they're saved for when you really need them, for as long as you need them. That's key. Like physical archives, you don't just shred them after a week. Are you a digital hoarder for a good cause? Here's something to think about. How do you balance the cost and storage headache of keeping audit logs for ages with that critical need for historical data during incident response? Let us know your strategies for audit record retention.
Okay, now for something really critical, a contingency plan. 03.03.04 response to audit logging process failures. What happens if the very system designed to record security events just stops working?
Oh, this is huge. It's like asking what happens if your security cameras go down. You need to know instantly, and you need a plan. It's about avoiding blind spots, keeping that visibility over your CUI.
That's the core challenge. Organizations have to define and then implement specific pre-planned actions for when logging fails. The main goal is always to minimize any unrecorded activity. So actions might include immediately alerting administrators, that's a basic one, or for really critical systems, it could mean failing securely. Maybe that means automatically shutting down the system, or just the affected part if logging can't be fixed quickly.
Wow.
Sometimes you might switch to backup logging methods if you have them. The crucial point here is you need a predefined, maybe automatic response. You can't just react after the fact. You need to prevent a situation where critical stuff happens and there's just no record, no forensic trail.
So you need to plan for resource issues too, like log storage filling up.
Absolutely. That's a common failure point. Storage fills up silently, logging stops. You need alerts for that.
Got it. Imagine a manufacturing company handles proprietary designs as CUI. They've set up their system so if an audit log disk fills up or the logging service crashes, bang, urgent alert goes straight to the IT security team. And for the really critical CUI processing systems, they might even configure it to pause or just stop operations until logging is back online.
A hard stop.
Yeah, ensures nothing goes unmonitored, no sensitive info access without a trace. It's that proactive fail-safe stops a logging glitch becoming a huge security gap. What's your plan B for security? Question for the audience. When a system's logging fails, what fail-safe action do you think is most important? An immediate alert, a system shutdown, or maybe just suspending CUI processing temporarily? Tell us your take on resilient logging.
All right, so we've collected the logs, we've planned for failures. Now the step where arguably the real value comes out, 03.03.05 audit record review, analysis, and reporting. Collecting is only half the job. This is where that raw data gets turned into something useful, actionable intelligence.
Right. This is where the digital detective work really starts. It's not enough to just hoard data. You have to use it. Use it to spot threats, understand your security posture, make smarter decisions. So what does this active analysis actually involve?
It's a few things. First, you need to periodically review and analyze your logs, specifically looking for signs or potential impacts of inappropriate or unusual activity.
Okay.
Then, you have to report what you find to the right people: incident response team, help desk, security office, whoever needs to know. And here's something powerful: the predictive aspect. Beyond just reacting, analyzing logs can sometimes show patterns, weird access times, strange data flows that might signal, say, pre-attack probing
Reconnaissance.
or an insider threat building up. You might catch it before it becomes a full breach. What's really powerful here is a requirement to analyze and correlate records across different places.
Not just one system's logs.
No. Pulling data from account usage logs, remote access, Wi-Fi logs, physical access badges, mobile device connections, even like when equipment is delivered or removed. Stitching all that together gives you a much richer organization-wide picture. Situational awareness.
Right.
And of course, how often you review, how deep you go, that can change based on your needs or new threats you learn about.
So a small business handling CUI, maybe for a federal contract, their IT admin might check logs daily, looking for anomalies like tons of failed logins for one user from a weird location, or suddenly huge amounts of data being transferred out.
Red flag.
Yeah, anything suspicious. Reported immediately to the company security contact. And they'd use tools to combine logs from servers, network gear, maybe even the door access system to get the full story of a potential incident. This is where the data really talks, connecting those dots to protect that CUI. Are you a digital detective? Here's a thought. Beyond just hunting for bad stuff, what positive insights or improvements do you think actively reviewing audit logs could bring to an organization's overall security? Any benefits beyond incident finding? Share your best audit analysis tips and successes.
Okay, building on that analysis, we hit 03.03.06 audit record reduction and report generation. This tackles the very practical issue of just the sheer volume of log data we just talked about creating.
Yes. The data deluge. Because without this, you're just drowning. It's about pulling the signal from the noise, right? But efficiently, without losing critical info. How do you do that without messing up the forensic value? That seems tricky.
It is tricky. You need to implement an audit record reduction and report generation capability. Basically, tools or processes that help with efficient review, analysis, reporting, and really importantly, those after-the-fact investigations. Now, the absolute key here, the vital nuance, is that when you reduce or summarize, you must preserve the original content and the time ordering of the records.
Don't change the originals.
Exactly. That ensures their integrity. They remain reliable for forensic use if you need to do a deep dive investigation later. So it's about creating summaries for day-to-day monitoring, but always keeping that complete, untouched raw data safe and accessible.
What's the biggest challenge there?
I think anticipating what data seems irrelevant today, but might turn out to be the crucial clue tomorrow. That reduction process needs to be smart, maybe even reversible to some extent.
So for that non-federal org handling railroad safety CUI, their logs get huge, fast. This requirement means they use tools, maybe automated ones, to filter out the routine expected stuff, create summary reports of just critical or weird events for daily checks.
Makes review manageable.
Right. But crucially, they ensure the full original logs are kept pristine, untouched, easy to get to if they need them for a detailed investigation later. Keeps things efficient and forensically sound. It's finding the needle in the haystack, yeah, but without burning the haystack. Summarize, sure, but don't lose the original story in those logs. Too much information. Question for you all. What's the biggest challenge you see in trying to reduce audit logs for easier reading while making absolutely sure you don't accidentally throw away vital evidence for a future investigation? Let us know your strategies for managing massive log files.
All right, moving to something that seems subtle but is incredibly important. 03.03.07 timestamps. The timing, the precise timing of events can honestly make or break an investigation.
Totally. This is all about getting that indisputable context. If times aren't synchronized accurately across systems, trying to build a clear timeline of an attack, forget it. Nearly impossible. Precision here is just paramount.
It really is.
Yeah.
The requirement says you have to use internal system clocks for the timestamps in your audit records. And those timestamps need to meet a granularity. You define seconds, milliseconds, whatever you need. But here's the critical part for consistency. Timestamps must use Coordinated Universal Time, UTC, or If you use local time, it has to have a fixed, known offset from UTC. Or the timestamp itself has to include the local offset.
So everyone's on the same page, time-wise.
Exactly. Ensures that no matter where an event happened geographically, you can place it accurately on one single global timeline. And it's worth remembering, accurate time is also vital for other security things, like access control, ID, and authentication.
Right.
Imagine trying to piece together an attack, hopping between servers if their clocks were off by minutes.
Yeah.
You'd never figure out the real sequence of events.
So that non-federal org with CUI and multiple data centers, they make sure all their servers, network devices, applications are synced to one authoritative UTC time source, like NTP.
Network time protocol, yeah.
So if a weird login happens on a server in New York at exactly 14.000.123 UTC, and at the exact same millisecond, a suspicious file transfer starts on a server in California, also at 14.00.123 UTC.
You can link them? Precisely.
Precisely. Even though local times are hours apart, that precision, vital for rebuilding complex attack timelines, understanding the sequence, it's the ultimate timestamp for security. Not a nice-to-have, absolutely critical for knowing when and linking the what across your whole environment. Timing is everything, especially in security. Quick question for the audience. How do you ensure consistent time synchronization across all the diverse systems in your environment? What challenges have you run into getting that right? Share your thoughts on why precise timing matters so much in security.
Okay, and finally, we arrive at 03.03.08, protection of audit information. We've gone to all this effort to generate, detail, store, and analyze these logs. Now we have to protect this invaluable evidence.
This is where the detective work really comes full circle, doesn't it? The audit logs are your digital evidence. You wouldn't leave fingerprints unprotected at a crime scene, right?
Exactly.
Same for digital records. Their integrity is everything for accountability. If someone can tamper with or delete logs, the whole system just crumbles. Your investigation, dead before it starts.
That's the heart of it. You must protect your audit information and the logging tools themselves from unauthorized access, modification, or deletion. A common best practice, if it's feasible for you, is storing audit records on a completely separate system or system component.
Isolate them.
Yeah, physical or logical separation makes it much harder for an attacker who gets into one part of your network to then also compromise your audit trails. And beyond that, using cryptographic mechanisms, things like hashing or digital signatures, is highly recommended. Essential, really, for integrity.
Explain hashing quickly.
Think of hashing like creating a unique, fixed-length digital fingerprint for each log entry. If anything in that log entry changes even one character, the fingerprint breaks completely. It's immediate proof of tampering.
Got it. Makes them trustworthy.
Exactly. Trustworthy and reliable for investigations, for audits, for everything.
So a small IT service provider handling CUI for clients, they store their audit logs on a dedicated server, hardened, physically and logically separate from the main network, access, super restricted, only a couple of highly trusted IT folks, and they use cryptographic hashing.
So they know.
Right. They know that once a log entry is written, it can't be messed with or deleted without setting off alarms. Makes their audit trail solid gold evidence if something happens. Remember, if an attacker breaches your system, one of their first moves is often covering their tracks by deleting logs. Protecting these logs is your last line of defense for figuring out what really happened, securing the evidence. Final question for you today. If you were an attacker, why would messing with or deleting audit logs be one of your absolute top priorities after getting into a system holding CUI? Tell us how you prioritize protecting your sensitive logs from compromise.
Well, that was quite the deep dive into the Audit and Accountability Control family from NIST SP 800-171r3. We've really covered the spectrum, haven't we? From that meticulous logging and needing robust content, through resilient generation, doing the thorough review and analysis, efficiently reducing logs, getting those precise timestamps, and finally, the absolutely crucial protection of the audit information itself. Taken together, these controls provide that critical visibility, that accountability. It's fundamental for CUI protection, for compliance, and for actually being able to respond effectively when things go wrong. They're like your organization's memory, ensuring every important action leaves a trace.
Indeed, it's so clear how essential it is to know what's happening on your systems, to be that ultimate digital detective. Next time, we're going to shift focus to another absolute cornerstone of CUI security, identification and authentication, NIST 3.5.
Proving identities.
Exactly. We'll explore how organizations verify who is who in the digital world. It's really the front door, the gateway to everything else, ensuring only the right people are even allowed to generate all those audit logs we just spent time talking about. That's all for this deep dive. If you found this discussion valuable, please do hit that like button and subscribe for more cybersecurity insights. And definitely check out our website and other platforms for more resources and discussions on today's topic and others. Your engagement, your comments, they really help us bring you more of these deep dives and build a more informed community.